We're with Peter Camejo, who is the gubernatorial candidate for California for the 2006 elections for the Green Party. And we're going to spend a little time here getting to know Peter and find out what he believes and why he believes that the Democrats and the Republicans don't deserve your vote, and he does.
Well, there's almost an obvious reason is that we have changed California in a way that's so detrimental. We had the best educational system in the world.
Yes, we did.
40 years ago, and the reason we are now spending $1,000 per student less than the national average is that we don't tax the rich and the corporations like we used to, and what we've done is had the children pay for it. The poorest people in California pay a 57% higher tax rate than the richest people. This is not known. And if people who make over $200,000 a year paid the same tax rate as people who make $20,000, we would have a $10 billion surplus in our budget. We could solve the educational problem tomorrow. That's why I'm running. Corporations, 52% of them, are paying no taxes in California.
Actually, you have a myth here that the idea of double taxation, and that's how taxes have been attacked in the benefit of corporations. Corporations have special standing. It isn't because the corporation shields the investor, there isn't double taxation. The corporation is standing protected, and it has to pay for that protection, and that's the problem we have. Is
they have to pay it through vigorish or kickbacks or some other thing.
Corruption's a very big problem, and one of the things we're here to ask you about is how prohibition actually fosters corruption in society.
Yes, well, one of the most irrational things that is being done in our society is the criminalization of plants. In any society, if you criminalize plants, what you do is create a criminal world that needn't exist. The issue of addictiveness, that is, of people suffering because they're taking something that hurts them, is a medical and social problem. It should not be turned into a criminal problem.
Oh, absolutely.
By doing that, what we do is we promote it. Because the minute you criminalize it, you make it a very profitable business. And so what you do is you create the criminalization of poverty. That is, poor people are the ones who are going to be attracted to it. So you're going to have people, and most drug dealers in America are working people who are very low-paying jobs and do it as a part-time thing. And this magnet that is created then creates a drain on our economy because we build prisons and throw these people in prison, which is madness, because all that does is just develop this increasing
world.
It
turns them into professional criminals.
Yes, well, it turns people into that have no other way to make a living.
Right.
Once you've been in jail and it's on your record, you can't go out and get a good-paying job, and so you're driven into you're repeaters. All of this is irrational when it comes to plants. And marijuana is the most extreme case because it's not even addictive. Right. And the damage that it does in society, where people don't understand it, is completely limited compared to tobacco, which we have maintained legal because it's the American addictive drug promoted by our
same people you were talking about just a little while ago.
The Democratic, especially the Republican Party, which is the largest single funder of the Republican Party, is tobacco. So they have been out promoting addictive drugs for decades and decades. In fact, they have been the champions of it. And most recently, they've signed a contract between all the states in tobacco in order to get off their back so they can go and addict as many people as they can.
Right, so they won't be sued anymore.
Right. So meanwhile, they're throwing thousands of people in jail because they're growing marijuana, which is not addictive and kills no one.
No one.
So we're totally irrational. Everything that America is doing on drugs and on tobacco
it's
is
actually
irrational.
rational from one perspective, is that, if you follow the money, as the story in any kind of a crime, you'll find who the people are behind it. And if you follow the money in the drug trade, who do you find but the Bushes and CIA?
Well, yes, there is a connection there. Maybe a circuitous thing, but there is a connection between the flow of money and maintaining these things illegal. There is a group of people who is in their self-interest to maintain it illegal. But there's also something else. It's a social lack of knowledge. It's ignorance.
Right.
And it's the promotion of ignorance.
And that's why we're here, to stop people from doing stupid things and to educate them and to let them know that marijuana is really good for you. It's the stuff that makes your life. It's part of your DNA. And what we're here with Peter Camejo, and I really like what you're saying about that, because this is rational, this is common sense, and that, after all, is what we're really about, is common sense, and that's what we want.
The other part of this problem is we have the federal government bothering us. The federal government, the DEA, has actually been beating up people with very few plants, less than 100 plants, and they're coming in and assaulting them, physically being violent, destroying their property and confiscating their property, all because of this marijuana is Schedule 1. How do you think, as governor, you could help to influence Washington to bring this in line?
Well, I think the governor, first of all, if we had a governor in California that understood this issue and had rational thought, the power is enormous of the changes that could be made and the influence it could have. And one of the most important things is simply to educate the population to how what we are doing is so self-destructive. In fact, it appears historically, what I have read, and I'm not an expert in this area, that it is a very important plant for humanity, that it has played a major role, and that it should play that role today, that there are many usages, not only the medical, which is the one that we're now battling in California, where the federal government, living in this total fantasy world of ignorance, is actually persecuting people for using medicine.
It's worse than persecution. It's abuse.
Yes.
I mean, it's downright abuse. We've had people had their arms broken, bruised and battered. We've had them robbed by the government, go in there and steal everything, and what they didn't take, they destroyed. And then in the end, the judge says, you know, the police didn't do the right thing here. The case is dismissed. Now the police should get everything back. But then the police say, sorry, it's not here anymore.
There's no preparation for this illegal
There is
harassment.
no protection of the patients against law enforcement. And as candidate for governor, I think our viewers and our people that are watching this program would want to know, what do you plan to do to help protect medical marijuana patients from the abuse heaped upon them by the illegal actions of the federal government and some local law enforcement?
Well, I would do everything that can be done legally to legalize marijuana and the madness that exists. And I would free everybody who's in prison for any charges related to marijuana. Now, people might say to me, wait, these are terrible criminals that, took advantage and they brought in marijuana from Mexico and they did this and all that. Let me tell you something. This whole thing is so irrational and it's so mad. And for us to be taxing people billions of dollars to pay for putting people in prisons who happen to have smoked not tobacco, which really damages you, but smoked something that didn't damage them.
That actually hurts you, or helps you, rather.
Or might even be helping you.
Especially people who need it.
Is a form of insanity which has come over our society. So let's do a tax relief for the taxpayers by freeing these people. Let's legalize it, which of course kills the criminal world. The minute you legalize it, the criminal world has disappeared, so you have no more criminal issue. You don't have police arresting people. You don't have people being thrown in jail. And then you educate in our high schools the actual factual scientific truth about this plant, so people can make a decision and have the concept of civil liberties. If somebody wants to drink wine with dinner, we're not going to prohibit it. Right. And if somebody wants to drink vodka, we're not going to prohibit it. What we're going to do is teach people the dangers of alcohol.
And how to use it responsibly.
That's what our society has decided. Marijuana is in the exact same category, but much less of a danger.
Yes.
So why in the world would we be throwing people in prison? And even for cocaine in our society, these other drugs were legal for a long time, and they played a very important role, and there was a much lower problem of addiction in our society than there is once we criminalized it. So what we have done is, in our society, what the Democrats and Republicans are doing is promoting addictive drugs and promoting a criminal world by maintaining these drugs criminalized. And if we just legalize them, we kill the criminal world, we dissolve it because they lose the financial basis and the market basis to be able to promote it. And I don't want my grandchildren, as they become teenagers, to have criminals approaching them to sell them drugs. If you legalize it, that won't happen.
That won't happen.
If you keep it criminal, that will happen.
Boy.
So if you're parents or grandparents, you want to protect your children, you're for legalization of these drugs and stop the madness. Look, do we suffer because we legalize tobacco? You know what would happen if we criminalize tobacco? That would be insanity. So
half the population would be in jail.
Why is it the Democrats and Republicans understand? Why is it they understand tobacco, which is the one who gives them money and is the American addictive drug and the worst one in the world that does the most damage to our whole society?
That's all other drugs combined.
Compared to everything.
Yeah.
So we live in this sort of never land of insanity on this issue of the drugs. And,
I
you know,
wanna
we
say
have to
something
speak
else
up on it.
on
Yeah,
that,
go ahead.
Which is that we hide the problem. We don't know what's going on within our society because by criminalizing it, people are hiding their problems with addiction. If we legalize it and bring it out into the open, we can treat it, and we will be a much better society for that.
And after having said that, and I don't want to listen any more of your enthusiasm, Peter, because, you know, this has just been wonderful to have you come on our show. And I want to send a message to the rest of the candidates out there who haven't responded to us yet. We still have openings. You can come on our show and state your points of view as well. Come on, give me a call, 799-2055. That's 760-799-2055. And you too can come on and state your platform so the voters in California can vote intelligently. And thank you again very much for coming on our show.
Thank you for the chance.